we had a bit of a discussion within the team who we're going to ask for journey, because you can kind of think of all sorts of ways. And then the name Vivek came up. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've seen that around. Let's do some research. And it turns out we have an actual celebrity because he has his own Wikipedia page. And you know you've made it if you have your own Wikipedia page. But there's so much more. So I want a big round of applause for Vivek Mahbubani.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for saying my name correctly as well. All right. Having said that, hey, good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm so happy that I have a good reason to wake up early this morning. And first of all, I'm a comedian. That's my job. I was born and raised here in Hong Kong, which is why I don't do just comedy in English. I also do it in Cantonese. So as a true Indian, I doubled my market, make more money. That's what we're all about, right? Yes, my parents are proud now. So today I want to share with you a bit about the behind the scenes of my comedy, but I want you to realize that actually a lot of people see me as a comedian, right? But that's basically maximum 2 hours of my day when I'm on the stage performing. However, the other 22 hours, I always tell people that I'm just a regular person doing regular stuff. However, how it all began was my parents, both Indian, they lived in Hong Kong and they realized without speaking the local language of Cantonese, there's a lot of limitations, right? So my mom was like, I don't want my son and my daughter to have this problem. I will send them to a local Chinese school. Now, I thought my mom cared about me. Oh, what a great person. She wants me to live a better life than she does. Until I went to my first Cantonese lesson. And I was like, wow, Mom, why aren't you learning Cantonese? Right? Now, I went to an all-boys school, and I remember every year, first day of school was exciting to me, not because I was in a new class or anything, because every year on the first day, you would do roll call. And on that day, I get excited to see how will this new teacher say my name incorrectly. Right? Every year, I would get someone like, my name is Vivek. One year, the teacher was like, whack, whack. Right? I've had all sorts of names to the point now when people invite me to perform and the host calls me anything, I am that person tonight. The host is like, please welcome, Mia. I'm Mia. Hey, everyone, I'm Mia, right? But what happened is that I'm a comedian today not because I'm an optimistic, funny guy. It's because I realized that I could never fit in. I went to a school where I was, the predominant community was Cantonese, Chinese-speaking people, and I was the Indian kid, right? Now, I'm in a room full of 6-year-old boys, first day of class, teacher does roll call, my name is now Wick Wick for the rest of the year, and someone raises his hand to ask the teacher, teacher, why is there an alien in the class? Yeah, now you can't blame them, right? Because of course, their view of the world is my own family and cartoons, right? Now again, comparatively, they would look at me as something different, so I can't be from this planet. But another classmate raised his hand and said, teacher, this is a boys' school. Why is there a girl in the class? And I was confused. I was like, I'm a girl? Huh? What? And I asked my classmate, how am I a girl? And he told me, you're a girl because you have long eyelashes. Yeah, now again, I can't blame him because, let's be honest, maybe in his worldview, long eyelashes, as you see on cartoons, is a female character, right? So therefore, he's like, you're a girl. Now, I remember at that point, I was very confused because my mom told me, go to class, pay attention, you learn Cantonese. But she never realized about all these issues that I'm going to deal with, right, on top of the language challenges. I remember going home really upset with my mom. I walked up to her and I don't know why when I get angry, I can't just walk normally like this. I have to have a little, mom, okay, all right, you call me your brother, but I'm the sister. Okay. Right? I remember telling my mom, I want to be a boy. And she was like, I'm very confused. Now, one thing, right, this is back in the 80s. She's like, I don't know what you were trying to go in full circle. What's going on here, right? Now, the thing is, my mom, her way of problem solving has never been like, don't be silly, you're wrong, let me tell you what's right. Her way was always, why do you think you're not a boy? She'll make me question myself. Now, on one hand, it's really good. On the other hand, it gives me a lot of doubt as well, right? Why am I not a boy? You're right. I never checked, right? And she would do this to me all the time. However, it made me think, I'm not a boy because I have long eyelashes. And she would then explain to me, no, that's not how it works. Look at your dad. He has long eyelashes too. To which I responded, oh my God, dad is a girl, right? But I did not cut it, right? She said, no, long eyelashes are beautiful. Don't cut them. You will regret it. And lucky for me, I have not cut my eyelashes, right? They're still nice and long now. And I find, now that I'm much older, with long eyelashes, a lot of people come up to me and talk to me. And they're always like, wow, your eyelashes are beautiful. Your face not so beautiful. Right? But the point is this, is that These were similar challenges I would face on a daily basis. And that in itself shaped me to realize I can't just follow the norm. So as simple as, let's say, recess time, I want to play with my classmates, I could not communicate with them. Learning Cantonese, I would look at the word, I had no idea what it is. And we realized over time that it's not so much about me being this person who's like very funny and silly. I was always a shy kid. But because I could not just follow the norm, I had to figure out a way to solve the same problem the next person does. So basically, when I was young, the challenges of learning Cantonese, you go to class, listen to the teacher, I don't understand what they're saying. We realized that even though it's the same, it's a language, it doesn't mean you can learn it the same way you learn in English. For example, in English, you can use phonics. You can look it up, A-P-P-L-E-L, po, right? You can do that. But in Chinese characters, you can't say 3 lines, Tang. You can't do that, right? You just don't know that word. And we realized that, oh, every problem has its own solution. And that's where it all started changing for me. That's when I started saying, okay, I'm going to find my own silly solution. I will do this. So, for example, I was starting to be the odd one out, but also being okay with it when I was, in primary school, when I was a young kid. However, when you get to secondary school, you become a teenager, and that's when you want people to accept you. And I remember every single day there was always some silly thing because, again, by that time, I could speak fluent Cantonese. And please understand, when I was in primary school, I couldn't speak good Cantonese and people couldn't talk to me, right? So we worked really hard, tutorial centers, everything, and finally my Cantonese improved. We thought we solved one problem, but it created another problem. Because again, I went to an all-boys school, and let me explain to you, when you're in an all-boys school in that environment, pretty much everything that is spoken in class is rubbish, okay? Nobody makes sense. It's only just insults and insults and insults, right? At least when I didn't understand Cantonese, I did not understand the insults. I felt good about myself. Right? Now I understood what they're trying to say. And because they could now talk to me, they could communicate with me, suddenly I became the Indian representative of my class. Right? Anything about India, I would have to know the answer, right? And I'd be like, hey, Viv, hey, I saw in the news last night, there was an earthquake near India. Are you alright? Like, we're neighbors. We live in the same building. Of course I'm alright. Yeah, but in your heart you don't feel the vibration. Yes, so much pain. Donate money to me now, please, right? But my point is that, it was these things where I would always have, I just want to do this and this will happen. I want to do this will happen. I try to wear the same shirts as my classmates, just somehow it doesn't look good on me, right? I wear the same cap, just doesn't look good on me. So I could never just say, what do you do? Then use that as a reference and then do that for myself and I can go with that. Now, I remember in secondary school, they make fun of me, I would make fun of them, stuff like that. It was all good. Until one day I got really fed up because I remember going to school one day, I was very, really hairy by that time, right? And okay, let me explain to you. One thing I really, really get annoyed with my body is that my body can generate hair everywhere except the 2 places A and B, it doesn't grow there, right? You're growing on my finger, what is the point of this, right? And I remember going to school, all hairy arms and everything, and my classmates were like, oh, V, what's wrong with you? Are you a monkey? What's wrong with you, right? And that was the day I got fed up. I was like, enough said, I'm tired of them always making fun of me, and, I don't want to fight back. And I decided, you know what, I'll make fun of myself. So I told them, do you know how good hairy arms is, Because in summer, I never get mosquito bites. Yeah, mosquitoes fly and get stuck in my hair. Yeah, it's so good. And my classmates believed me. They were like, really? Really? Oh, really? And then they were like, oh, give me some. So I was like, here, take some hair, right? And they all started laughing and everything. And then after that moment, they never made fun of my body hair. And that clicked in my brain when I was like, so you mean if I make fun of this, they won't attack me? Wait a second, I think I found my solution. And without realizing it, I started loving humor and joking about stuff because I was like, wow, okay, so this is a self-defense mechanism. So a lot of times I tell people that comedy to me is not that I'm trying to live in a better world and make everyone laugh. It's really my self-defense mechanism to deal with the world I handle every single day. Because the truth is, everyone I'm sure has their own problems and everything, just that I grew up in this environment and because I was always the outsider, I could only make fun of it at most. But I'll be honest with you, when I was around 17 years old, I remember I did not like my identity. When you're at that age, you just want to be accepted by people, you want people to like you. And I remember I really was annoyed at being Indian, like, oh, why am I Indian? Why couldn't I just be Chinese? Because no matter what I did, people always had a question. Like if I speak Cantonese, how come you can speak Cantonese? How come I'm a genius? I don't know what to say, right? 'Cause I'm really good at this, right? I don't know. But my point is that it was always challenging. How long you been in Hong Kong? Da, 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 da. And when I was 17, I was like, you know what? This is so annoying. Mom, why couldn't you be Chinese? You just thought about this before getting birth. And I would do all these things, right? But for 3 years, I spent those 3 years really questioning myself. Talking to my mom, she told me something like there's no correct race, stuff like that. It made me go like, okay, I see your point. And I really spent a lot of time writing, expressing myself. Why do I feel this way? What's going on? And those 3 years were the magical turn where I now did not detest my identity. If anything, I loved being the odd one out. I love the fact that people assume A about me, and then turns out I'm not A at all. So for example, people, they see my face, they don't know I speak Cantonese, and it gives me this opportunity every single day to walk out of my house and be the local Hong Konger or the foreigner, depending on what I want to do, right? So for example, let's say I see the red light at a crossing and I jaywalk and there's a police opposite the road and they stop me, that's when I become the foreigner, right? So let's be honest, in Hong Kong, you want to get out of any situation, speak in English, right? I could be, at a bank, like, hey, what are you doing? I'm robbing the bank. I don't know. Hey, I love it. That's when I'm the foreigner. I'm like, I've never been in Hong Kong. Is this red light? I'm colorblind. I don't know. I can do whatever. There's that. Then on the other hand, I can go to a store where they have a big sign in Chinese characters saying 10% discount. And when I pay and they're trying to get away with it, like, hey, right? I can do that. So that's when I was like, wait a second, I have this dual identity. I can have fun with it. And in university, I would make a lot of different friends. And people wanted to be my friend because now they could show off. They could tell their classmates, oh, you see that foreigner? It's my friend. Yes. Yeah. And everyone's like, wow, your English must be so good. Yeah, we speak in English. Yeah, so good. You can't. You go away, right? You do that. I remember in year 2 of my university, every year we have an orientation camp, right? And what they did is in the orientation camp, they have all the newbies come on in, and then they take them on camp and they make them do challenges around the city. And one of the challenges was, this is terrible, but to go to Chim Sa Tsui, go to a park and find an Indian person, stand around him in a circle and sing happy birthday, all right? Now, back then this was just hilarious to me because like, this is so good, I'm going to sit there. And my job was to get upset at the students and start yelling at them, right? And they had no idea. So they all came, I was sitting over there in the park, the students come over, the new kids come over with their leader who knows who I am. They stand around me, go, happy birthday to you, happy. And I have to get up like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? So I'm freaking them out, they're losing their minds, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. They finish and they leave, and everyone goes back to the campsite that evening. And the idea is, I suddenly show up at the campsite, still upset, be like, how dare you say it's my birthday, and just like, oh, why is he here, right? And that's when I bust into the Cantonese and like, no, actually, I'm your classmate. They're like, oh. So that in itself is because I'm okay with being that odd one where I'm not like, that's offensive, you can't do that just because I'm brown. I'm like, you know what, I will take full advantage of the fact that I'm not Chinese and have fun with this because I'm the only one who can do that. And what I realized is that my journey really wasn't a matter of me being that kid, just being a funny guy from a young age. I was always the one that could never fit in, to the point that I realized that whatever worked with my classmates, I had to do the opposite. Which was my running joke to explain my grades because I was like, you see, Mom, I have to do the opposite. So when they get full marks, I gotta get 0. You see how that works? You see, I gotta be the opposite side of it. But the truth is, it took a long while where I had to really spend a lot of time reflecting, asking questions, and being really honest with myself. Now, comedy was a thing I saw on TV growing up. There was a show called Seinfeld, because back then there was no internet. It was just a few channels on TV. And I saw Seinfeld, a sitcom, and in the beginning of every episode, Jerry Seinfeld, the main star of this show, would do some stand-up comedy just like this, holding a mic and talking, right? And I was fascinated. How can this person hold the mic and talk and I want to listen to them? But my teacher in school does the exact same thing and I don't want to listen to them. Right? What's going on? What's this magic that he's doing? And I learned that's called stand-up comedy. He's just talking about life and making you laugh. I'm like, this is great. I love this. And I told myself one day before I died, I want to try stand-up comedy. I made a promise. I had no idea when, where, how, or whatever. Because Hong Kong had no comedy scene. There was not. The only stand-up comedy we had was like a big celebrity called Dayo Wang Jiwa, who used to do big shows at the Coliseum for like 10,000 people, 5,000 people. I don't even have, I don't have that many friends, let alone relatives, to fill up a room like that, right? So I was like, okay, one day before I die, I'll try. Now what happened is that I don't know if the world is out there to kind of like make me live up to my promises, because I said one day before I die, I'm going to try stand comedy. And after I graduated from university in 2006, unfortunately, I was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer, right? So I remember one day I woke up and I had this big lump on my neck, right? It was swelling over here. And I don't know, I was like, did I go to the gym and work neck yesterday? What's going on? Why do I have this big muscle over here, right? But it was really painful. I went to the hospital. They did some scans, this and that. Long story short, they confirmed, yes, you have cancer. Now, back then, the only thing I knew about cancer is you lose your hair and pretty much end of episode, right? And I thought, that's it? I'm done? Oh, you know? But the more I learned, I'm like, it's not as bad as you think. You know, you have to get through chemotherapy and everything. And chemotherapy was a very interesting process because it was one of those things where every 3 weeks I have to be injected with chemotherapy. And if you're not familiar with it, it's like a self-suicide in a way, right? So you're injecting poison in your body, hoping to kill the cancer cells. And at the same time, it does damage your body as well. But the idea is that your body should be strong enough to fight it versus the cancer cells who will just die off with the chemotherapy. So I have to do 6 sessions, which means every 3 weeks I get another session. And the process is injection today is day 1. And on day 1, you feel terrible, you're throwing up, you know, it's, oh my God, I don't like this. Day 2, worse and worse. The worst is on day 10. You get to day 10, and then you start to improve again. And by day 18, you're pretty much at 90%. Day 19, day 20 is the day you want to do everything, because day 21, you're back in again, right? However, that really taught me a true journey of it's now or never, where I am on day 20, I can complain about the sun not being out, I'm not in the mood, there's no inspiration, I'm not feeling good, or I could say like, well, one way or another, I have only 24 hours now. Let me make most of this, right? Now, what I used to do really cheekily is like on day 19, day 20, I would meet my friends for, let's say, a meal, have a chat, and every time, like, you know, we finish the meal, they're like, all right, everyone pitch in, you know, $100, whatever. I'm like, guys, you want me to pitch in? This could be my last meal, you don't know. And they're like, I hate you, Bill. I'm like, hey, don't hate me, you know, you regret it tomorrow, right? When I'm gone, you give me, that's the last thing you said to me? I don't think so, right? So I would do all these cheeky things just to get out of stuff to hopefully find a lighter take on the whole thing. Because I remember when I was going through the whole chemotherapy, I remember a book once said, you know, have something to look forward to. When you have something to look forward to, your body itself, the immune system will improve in a different way because it's excited, it's looking forward to something rather than saying, I'll somehow find a way to solve this problem. You're like, I'm ready to solve it, let's go. Chemotherapy, 6 sessions all done, I'm healthy, and then that is when I saw an article in the newspaper that said stand-up comedy competition. And I told myself, well, I told myself one day before I die, I'm going to do it. Let's do this. And I thought to myself, if even cancer can't kill me, what's a room full of people not laughing going to do to me, right? So again, for any of you who lack confidence, get a bit of cancer. It's really good, right? Right? Don't get the big one. Don't get the, you know, the liver. Don't do that. That's no good. Get the simple like lymphomas. Those are easy. You can get through those easily, right? But my point is that gave me the courage of like, let's do it. You know, I could have sat there and complained, oh, I never went to drama school. You know, I never did this. I don't have, no. Because I had that idea in my head, I always had a habit of writing ideas down. You know, write it down and put it together for the moment that opportunity came. And that was the opportunity, right? And that's when I tried the comedy competition, gave it a shot. I did both the English and Cantonese category. Oddly enough, I won the Cantonese, did not win the English the first year. So apparently my English is not funny. My Cantonese is hilarious. I don't know what I'm doing. My teacher must have taught me wrong. I don't know, right? But when I did it, I loved it. I loved the idea that I'm on stage and telling people silly stuff and they're laughing, and I was like, ooh, I want to keep doing this. The truth is there was no money involved, there's nothing there, it was just, you know, having fun. In the beginning of my whole comedy career, it was just going to bars here and there. Hey, is it a comedy night? Let's try some comedy. And they'll pay you in French fries at most, right? I'm like, fine, French fries, ketchup? Yeah, this is pretty good, right? I'll do that. And then it slowly grew. And the truth is, with my comedy, it was never intended to be the career. I was actually a web designer / developer before, because of course I can't help it. Indian IT, I didn't want to. It just like I literally just slapped the keyboard. That's a website. I did that. Oh my God, Yahoo.com done, right? My point is that was what I was doing, and that was like 99% of my time. 1% as a hobby was comedy. But I'm a person that if I'm going to do something, I want to see how far I can push myself. And I kept trying to do different things, you know. And of course, the more you do, the better you get at it. People notice you. Someone asks you, you know, to do this, to do that. And in the beginning, I was doing all sorts of gigs. And I've had good gigs, bad gigs, or whatever, and stuff. And today I get to say I'm a full-time comedian. I get to do shows like I get to speak over here this morning. I get to host many events. I've done gigs at people's private houses. I've done gigs on cruise ships. I've done comedy festivals. It's mostly because I always tell myself, well, it's now or never. Who knows tomorrow whether it will come, because I, in a way, luckily and unluckily, have seen literally like this is the end. This could be no more. Because remember, I told you that chemotherapy on day 20, I had 24 hours and all the excuses in the world didn't matter, because I knew tomorrow exactly at this time I will be going, "Bleh," I'll be doing that, right? So there was no like, oh well, maybe next time, I'm not ready for it. No, no, no. It's now or never. And that mentality, honestly, has really made me go, I'm taking everything that I think I can do and see how far I can push myself, right? And then that itself let me try different things. Like I've done MMA ring announcements. I know, yeah. If you did not know, I actually do a lot of MMA fight nights back then, because after COVID it stopped a lot. And let me tell you, this is the quick story, and we go into Q&A. How it all began is like this, right? So when I was in primary school, I loved this game called Street Fighter. And in that game, there's always this voice in the beginning of every round that goes, round one, fight! Like that, right? I would imitate that voice in school, right? As a young kid, mathematics, okay, 6 times 6, huh? Wait, what is 6 times 6, right? And I'll be like, 36. You can't punish me because I'm correct, right? At most, you can be like, what's wrong with your voice? Puberty. You don't know, right? You don't know that. And I used to imitate this voice all the time. And the truth is, many people told me off, like, don't be silly, be serious, what's the stupid voice you're doing, da 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 da. And my sister didn't like the voice too much as well, and she would always come, "You're making that stupid voice again," right? And my mom made me this deal. She's like, I tell you what, Viv, you want to make this voice? Fine. Well, I'll be fair with you. If you finish all your homework and your studies, you can make that voice all you want every day, right? And I was like, Mom, you are a good person. I like you. Until I realized that in Hong Kong, when you go to a local school, homework never ends. If you've ever studied here, you know it never ends, right? So I'm up at like 12:30 a.m. I'm like, ugh. Mom's like, go to sleep. I'm like, I will never know I'm going to say that voice. You wait, you just watch, right? I'll finish my homework. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I finally like, good night. And I just fall asleep. That's it. Then I used to play with that voice all the time. People told me off so many times, I'll be serious. What's wrong? What are you doing? What are you doing? Until one day around like 10 plus years ago, an organization called Legend Fighting Championship was starting an MMA organization in Hong Kong to do fights for Asian-based fighters. And they wanted to find an MC, a ring announcer. So they contacted different people. They contacted me, hey, have you ever thought about being an MMA ring announcer? I was like, no, I don't do MMA, right? I watch it at most, but I don't know. They're like, well, would you like to try? I'm like, well, okay, let's give it a shot. I go there, I'm like, so what do you want me to do? They're like, okay, Vic, when you were young, did you ever play this game called Street Fighter? It's like, yeah. Can you imitate that voice? I was like, I've been practicing this voice for 20 years. I am the voice, right? And they hired me, and I was doing MMA fight night. So I could be like on Thursday night, hey guys, Friday night, all right, ladies and gentlemen. And it's all these things I find that if you're just like, because I'm willing to go to places where I'm like, I have no idea, because I'm like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen over here? Like, let's give it a shot, see what happens. It's allowed me to pursue my career in many different ways. And in the same way, even today, I get to do comedy all over the world, and I'm very grateful for that. However, no matter what you do, there'll always be someone in your life that just doesn't buy what you do. And I have this one uncle, he still doesn't believe this is what I do for a living. Right? Every time, oh, you're still telling jokes, huh? I'm like, Uncle, you still won't buy a ticket, so who cares, right? Like, what does it matter? You're never gonna, right? And I remember one day he came to my house. I said, Uncle, I'm gonna sit you down and show you something. I sat him down, loaded my YouTube video on the internet, and I sat with him. He watched a 7-minute video, and he was watching. He's laughing. The video finishes. He turns to me and says, "Hey, that guy looks like you. I hate you." All right. Having said that. We're going to move on to a segment that I really find it's fun, but also mostly useless in Hong Kong. Is like, any questions? Because normally when I go to schools and give talks, the kids are so shy. Because I grew up in a Chinese school, and I know I'm like, any question is a bad question. And if I say something wrong, I'll get in trouble. So no, I don't want to know anything, right? But please, we have some time now. I would love to answer anything you want to know about what I talked about, anything I haven't talked about, you're curious about. I'm happy to answer it as you would like. So just raise your hand. And right over there, we have one hand raised over there. I think I probably can already hear you if you can just speak it. I have good hearing.
You know what? Let's first give him a big round of applause.
Oh, hey, okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
We had a lot of speakers
Yeah.
over the years, right? We've been doing this for 10 years, a new speaker every month. All very inspirational, a lot of tips, life lessons. We'd never quite heard the tip, if you want to be successful, get a little bit of cancer. That's the first time we got that.
Hey, you know what?
But you take away something every month. So
Exactly.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
It is indeed time for questions, so let me just walk over.
Great inspirational speech. And
Thank
where can I buy the cancer that you got?
Oh, wait, very simply, barbecued pork every day for 3 weeks at the City University canteen. I'm a firm believer that's what caused it. Right?
Seriously, you say you're using your comedy as a defense mechanism to fit in. Is there a moment that you can pinpoint to say, okay, this is going to get me out of jail and not help me be accepted? And secondly, for someone who wanted to start in comedy but didn't know where to start, they think they've got a couple of stories, what would you say to someone who wants to give it a go but doesn't know how to start?
Okay, so first of all, if you want to give comedy a go, my recommendation is have the habit every single day of noticing one thing that's interesting that happened to you today, or something interesting about the world around you. For example, one of my jokes on my Instagram is about happiness in Hong Kong, and I say happiness in Hong Kong is when you're alone in the lift and you see your friend is running towards the lift, and your hand presses the door close button, right? Right? Okay, so how did that come about is that I remember one day I was in the lift and I was pressing the door close button. And I was like, how come I don't press it once? I press it so many times. Like, what's the necessity of doing this? The lift doesn't respond faster because I do this, right? And I realized it's because every press is a feeling of happiness. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing something in my life. And I would know that, oh, lift close button makes me feel happy. And that was the beginning of this idea. So the key is every day, at least notice one interesting thing. Every single day, write it down. And after a week, review the 7 items and pick one of them. And casually tell it to a friend. Don't say, hey, I have something funny to tell you. Don't do that. Makes people go like, really? I'm listening. No, don't do that. Make it seem like you just, oh, funny stuff, I say it very normally, right? When you do that, people might respond, and you take that as a good response. The other alternative is take that idea, go to an open mic night, and just tell it like a friend. Don't say, oh, here's a punchline. Just tell it like you're just a friend sharing an idea. That would give you a chance to basically express your funny or interesting angle. Because what is interesting to you very often is funny to someone else. So a lot of times when I teach comedy, I say, look, don't try to find funny things in life. There's nothing funny about the door close button. There's a lot of interesting things about the door close button. So if I look for what's funny, there's nothing funny. But it's interesting that I press it so many times. If I can explain why I do it, that is me adding value to my interest. And then you might see like, oh, never thought of that, and that makes it funny. Right? So that's a simple way. Number 2, you were saying that has it got me out of
in school, for
situations?
sure.
Many times
Yes,
I would
many
do that. I'm sure I've had many awkward situations where I've, let's say, said someone's name, said their name incorrectly, or I mixed them up to someone else. I've forgotten things. For example, okay, let's just say I did a gig and I was thinking of just wearing like a t-shirt and pants on stage and no big deal, right? And the organizer was like, oh, you're going to change, right? I'm like, of course I'm going to change. Come here, look at me, right? A celebrity doesn't show off their clothes immediately. You have to wait for it. But I knew, I was like, I have no clothes to change. Okay. So that was me kind of joking about, like, I'm a celebrity, so of course I can't be seen in my costume until the showtime, right? So a little bit of this. It's a little bit of me kind of finding the way, weaseling my way out of admitting that, oh, I messed up. So I try to hopefully joke about it and be like, okay, whew, at least they're not feeling awkward about it. Now I got to figure this out. So there's many of those. I feel that it allows the two situations to not be like, oh, does this guy know what he's doing? If I can make fun of it, they're like, well, he seems confident, so I think we can trust him. So a lot of those, yeah, that does help a lot. Very good, cool. All right, do we have right over here, Matt? We pass the mic to you.
Hey Vivek,
Hey.
What's the weirdest gig or inquiry you've ever received?
All right. So I have a few. There's literally one of my long bits. That's a 7-minute bit about the weirdest gig I've ever done. But if I do that, we're gonna have no time for Q&A. All right. I'll tell you that story in a second. So how we have time for, like, let's say right? Okay.
Of course.
I tell you what. I'll leave that for the end. It's a good 7-minute story which I love telling. Thank you for asking the question. All right. But if anybody has any questions, I'll answer it first, and we'll get into that. All right. Right over here. Let's pass the mic to you. We'll answer that, and I'll reserve exactly 7 minutes for that.
Hi Vivek. So, what's your go-to tip when the joke doesn't land? Because speaking in public is difficult as is. Doing comedy is suicidal.
Yeah.
So, what's your go-to tip for when jokes don't land? It's a tough crowd. What do you do?
So first things first, remember, nobody other than yourself knows your script. So nobody knows where you expected the punchline to be. So when you say something, you're like, "Ba, ba, 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 ba," and that's the punchline, and nobody laughs. You have half a second to go, "Ba, ba, 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 ba," right? Pretending you're not there yet. I'm almost there, right? One time, two times, yes. By the third time, if you still fail, that's a good moment to admit the failure. And that in itself eases the tension. See, what happens is that if you look at the comedy formula, it's setup and punchline. So setup is much like this. If you know the storytelling typical narrative, it's like you set the scene, create the problem, rising tension, and then bam, you let it go, right? So what happens is as you're rising the tension, people are getting into your story. They're expecting a payoff. They're like, okay, where's he going with this? Okay, I'm listening. Okay, hold on a second. I'm doing a lot of work. There's no payoff. What's happening over here? People get confused. Like, I don't know. This guy's not doing well. And if you can admit, like, wow, okay, you guys are a tough crowd. I like this challenge. This makes me feel good, you know. And if I do that, you know that I know I'm failing. So that in itself will ease the tension. So method number one is keep going, pretend you haven't hit the punchline yet. All right? But you have half a second to do it. If they know, they got you. Number two, after let's say 2 or 3 failed punchlines continuously, stop and say, okay, wow, I'm terrible today. There's the exit sign if you want to go, right? I can do that. And then you keep continuing and try again. So those are 2 ways I tell people that really works, but you can't use it for 20 minutes. Like imagine seeing me, blah, 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 like, wow, okay, 29th floor, I see why we're on this floor, okay. So yeah, like that as well. Cool, very good. Right, any other questions?
I think it's time to move on.
All right,
If you-
okay.
If you have a 7 minute.
7 minute thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
please
Let me
go
say.
ahead.
Okay, so let's get into this. So basically, the weirdest gig I ever got was, I think like 7, 8 years ago. I got a call from an organizer in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, who said, "Hey, Viv, we'd love to have you come down and perform on Valentine's Day." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay. Do I get paid? Yeah, okay, let's do it, right?" So I was like, "Okay, you book the flights. I'll take it. I'll see you over there." Now, remember, whenever you work with promoters, never let them pick your flights. Because if they get to pick it, they always pick the worst flights, right? I got like a 6-something a.m. budget airline to Kuala Lumpur, which means I have to leave my house at 3-something in the morning. Now 3 a.m. there's no airport express, there's barely any buses, and I thought to myself, look man, you're getting paid for this gig, be nice to yourself, treat yourself, get a taxi to the airport. You can afford it. Come on, you can do this, right? So I'm with my little suitcase downstairs waiting for taxis, and I kind of, the taxi arrives, and as much as I know I can put that suitcase in the boot of the taxi, I know if I do that, that will cost me 6 Hong Kong dollars. And my mind was like, no, I will not pay that $6 to this guy, right? So I take that suitcase, put it in the back passenger seat, right, where it's free, right? It's free, you can't charge me for that. And I sit in the front with the taxi driver. Now please understand, Hong Kong taxi drivers do not like it when you sit in the front with them, because that seat is not for you. That seat is for the lunchbox, the bag, the newspaper, not you, right? So I sit in the front and I'm like, okay, guy, right? The guy's like, presses the meter, we start going. 3 a.m., no traffic, super smooth, so good, we're just zooming all the way to the airport. Problem is, 3 a.m., I'm kind of tired, no traffic, too smooth, which means I'm sitting there and slowly falling asleep, right? And the driver next to me is also slowly falling asleep. Now, my reflex reaction was not to poke the driver and wake him up. My reflex reaction was to press the stop button on the meter and then wake him up. So my reflex is to save money, then save my life. Do you understand how bad this is? I'm like, no. We get to the airport after a 45-minute journey. The meter says $44.50. Even the driver's like, huh? And for the first time in my life, I took out a $50 bill and I said, keep the change. I'm like that. All right, I get on the plane, I get to Kuala Lumpur, they pick me up, it's all good. They take me to a place called Genting, all right? Genting is kind of like a Macau, okay? It's like casino, resort kind of thing, okay? I go there, they take me to the room, it's a 2,000-seat hall. And they told me, Viv, tonight actually is a variety show. We have a dancer, magician, comedy, all that stuff, right? And my job is only to perform for 15 minutes. I'm like, that's okay, I can do that, no problem, right? So then the organizer tells all of us, oh, by the way, tonight someone in the audience paid the organizers 50,000 US dollars. So at the end of the show, he could propose to his girlfriend and ask her to marry him. I know. And I was like, 50,000? Are you mad? Why don't you take that money and give it to your girlfriend directly? Will you marry me? Because divorce you keep half. Think about it. Think about it, right? I mean, come on, right? All right. So I asked, do I have to do anything? No. You don't. You just do your set. You're good. I'm like, okay, sweet. No problem for me. All right. The show starts. 2,000 seats. It's a sold-out show. Okay. It's Valentine's Day, which means all couples, all the stuff's happening. Everyone's sitting down. I do my set. All right, guys. Thank you. Good night. I go back and I watch the rest of the show. Now at the end, the MC comes back out. He has to do the little final game if we can end the show. Now, clearly this MC just wanted to finish, as we say in Hong Kong, go on Sao Kong, just wants to get it done, go home, right? So he went out there, he said, all right guys, before we end the show, I want to play a game with a random couple from the audience. Now, a good MC will take his time to like, all right, who would like to play? Come on, make some noise, right? Not this guy. Clearly just wanted to get the job. All right, let's pick a random couple. I will pick you, sir. Yeah, you, sir, right? And the boyfriend said, me? Oh, okay, baby, let's go play. Girlfriend, she's like, I'm in the back watching 50,000 US dollars. It's gonna be a good show. Oh yeah. Oh. He's like, come on, let's play. He's dragging her on. She's like, with the handbag, everything. Gets on stage, super upset. The MC's like, all right, now it's not gonna be me who's gonna play with you. Let me get the magician. Magician comes out, right, and plays his first trick and stuff like that. Now, it's always the case in magician, is this your card? Yeah. Okay. Boyfriend goes and gets changed. Yeah, I already know, like, you asked the question, I feel this insulting to you already. Like, but then he tells the boyfriend, okay, boyfriend, go backstage, get ready for the next game. Girlfriend, stay with me. So the girlfriend's on stage alone with the magician. Magician's talking to her, but everything he asks her, she has the same response. What's your name, ma'am? What's your favorite color? Like, I thought maybe she has a speech impediment. Maybe she's like, she's trying, right? I'm in the back like, come on, girl, you can do it. And at that point, it's super awkward, so the MC comes back out. And he decides to start to sing a song. Yeah. He comes out and he is singing, guess what? He sings, I will show you the world. Aladdin. I was like, what year are we in? Really? I will show. Now, in this 2,000 seat hall, while the MC is like, I will show you the world, at the very back of the hall, you suddenly see a hanging, flying carpet. With the boyfriend, yes, sitting on the carpet, slowly descending towards the stage. And the MC is watching it. I will show you the world. Everyone in the audience, you can see all of them going like, whoa. And you can see all the boyfriends in the audience going like, no. Dude, you can't do this to me. Today's Valentine's Day, are you mad? Right? He's coming down, MC's watching it. I will show you the world. I asked the organizer, how come the MC is only singing one line from the song? You know what the organizer said? Because we have no budget to pay for the copyright. We can only do one line for free. I'm like, what? 2 minutes. I will show you the world. I was like, I will show you my fist, dude. Let's go. Let's go, dude. Finally, the boyfriend gets down. He's on stage, on his knees. Baby, we've been together for 7 years. Will you marry me? The girlfriend. Everyone in the audience is like, huh? What's going on? What does that mean? Boyfriend jumps up. She said yes. I'm like, that's yes? How do you normally talk? Hey, baby, what do you want for dinner? Sushi. I know that one, right? And that was one of the weirdest gigs, and I'm telling you, 100% true. You don't believe me? There's a comedian called Rizal Ben Gazel who's coming to Hong Kong, I think like in March or something. He was there at that show as well. We were watching the carpet going like, are you serious? We're not getting paid enough. This is, yeah. So that was my weirdest show, and I love telling that story because it's just so bizarre. And again, when you do weird jobs, when you do weird gigs, you get weird stories as well. Thank you very much. That was very good. Cool. Appreciate that.
Oh, that was great.
Cool. We're at the final part of today's show. Nick unfortunately had to leave himself,
Fair.
but he did leave the present.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm gonna do a magic trick now.
Man.
I want a big round of applause. Here is Nick's.
Oh, whoa! Cool, nice. Oh, very cool. Wow.
So we'll take a picture there.
We go. Okay.